Good morning, friends. Welcome to Wake Up in the Word. Thanks for joining me. Hey, I don't have a new coffee cup today, but at least I have this nice little new plastic cup from Disaster Relief. Got to meet with those folks here in the display section, the exhibit hall, as we're just celebrating time with all our Baptist family at the Southern Baptist Convention in New Orleans, Louisiana. The Mississippi River is behind me as we're looking out of this 14th floor window, and the sun's coming up, and I'm trying to position myself just right so the glare doesn't kill us. So make it where you can't even see. We're having a great time in the Lord, and I thank you for joining me this morning. We're going to get right into our devotional, and later on, if you want to catch me on Facebook and some other things, we're going to give some live updates from the convention later today. Looking forward to spending some time with more friends that we run into, and especially excited that one of those friends, Mike Stone, is running for president of the Southern Baptist Convention, so we'll see how that goes. Well, we're in the 20th chapter of Luke's Gospel, beginning in verse 20, so we're at a 2020 passage here this morning. Let's see if we can see clearly after reading this. It talks about those people who've been following Jesus around, the teachers of the law, the scribes, the Pharisees, who already have rejected him as Messiah and are plotting just how they're going to get rid of him. So with that thought in mind, that's the they Luke's going to be talking about here in just a second. He says they watched closely and sent spies who pretended to be righteous so they could catch Jesus, in what he said, to hand him over to the governor's rule and authority. They questioned him, "Teacher, we know that you speak and teach correctly, and you don't show partiality, but teach truthfully the way of God. Is it lawful for us to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" But detecting their craftiness, he said to them, "Show me a denarius. Whose image and inscription does it have?" "Well, Caesar's," they said. "Well, then," he told them, "give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." They were not able to catch him in what he said in public, and being amazed at his answer, they became silent. Well, of course they did. Who could have guessed that Jesus would come up with such a brilliant answer right off the cuff? But of course, he's the Lord. Of course he's going to have the right answer at the right time. And for years we've preached this message, as many pastors and teachers have, with the emphasis on why it's okay to pay taxes to your government. Jesus said it's okay to give to Caesar what is Caesar's. So we've kind of leaned on that end of this teaching. But my friends, I want you to think about the other side of it. He said, yes, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, but to God what is God's. Now, you may not have a coin with your inscription on it, but there is a picture. You may be looking at it in the mirror this morning as you get ready. There you are, a person, a human being made in God's image. Oh yes, the coin's been pressed, you've been made, and now here you are, living, working, operating in God's world. What are you supposed to do about that? Well, the Bible tells us that we're to give unto God the things that are God's. So our reasonable act of worship is to once again present ourselves in sacrificial return to our Creator, that which He has created. What am I talking about? Well, Paul puts it this way in Romans 12. He said, I love the King James here. "I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God. I beseech you, I beg you, I plead with you, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto God." That is your reasonable act of worship. So yes, as sure as it's reasonable to give back unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's, it's also reasonable to give yourself back to God. As we ran into many friends in the convention halls yesterday, Rob and Michelle Muncie, you guys were especially, you're especially a reminder of that, of how when you give yourself back to God, how He can do some amazing things with you that you never imagined before. And as we began to talk about those, it became obvious that God is still busy in His world, and the hands and the feet of the Lord are evident in those people who've recognized this truth. they have to give back to God the things that are God's. And we just say, Lord, use me in any way you can. What do you want me to do next? My biggest problem is not being able to see that played out, but at times seeing there's so many ways that you'd like to present yourself to the Lord and let Him use you, and you only have one body, one lifetime, one opportunity for this to happen, that you almost get frustrated. There's so much to do and so little time. You know, that's one of the things perspectively I think's happened to us as we've grown older. We've seen how our lives that we thought were going to be so huge when we were youngsters and teenagers, it's like life is so long and it's so stretched out, and my goodness, I'll never get old enough to even get a driver's license. But it changes. And as you get older, you discover, wow, this is over pretty quick. Boy, it's like a flash. And there's so many things you'd like to do for the Lord, and there's only so much time, so many things you'd like to do for your family, what an impact you'd like to have. Listen, you can't be frustrated over what you can't do. But I'll tell you what you and I can do this morning. We can present ourselves back to the Lord, give unto God the things that are God's, and say, Lord, as President Ronald Reagan did in those days after the assassination attempt, after he had been shot, and he said, well, whatever days that are left to me are His. Can you say that today? Look, Lord, I don't have much to give, but I do have something to give. You made me in your image. I'm one of your creations. I am going to give back to you that which belongs to you the rest of my life. Do with it as you please. And then I think you'll have a great day in the Lord. Thanks for joining me this morning. We'll do this again tomorrow from New Orleans as we wake up in God's Word.